on yet.
Yeah, Steven's on, Jay's on. We'll pull the list. I'll pull the list from the online attendance.
No problem. Just when we have a vote, unless it's unanimous, we'll have to
Roll call,
I'll
yeah.
read out for the record what the names are. So, or else I'll repeat into the record what the names are so we have it. And I think there's only a couple of actions. Okay, so let's call to order and meeting's recording. Let's do a roll call. My name's Doug Plachinsky. I'm with the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization, the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Western Triangle. Welcome to the meeting, and we'll start with Darlene. You're at the top of my screen, so let's read. Just everybody call out their name and who they're representing.
Darlene Weaver, Orange County.
See, Nish, you're next.
Nish Trivedi, Orange County.
Emily.
Emily Ange, Orange County.
Matt.
Matt Eford, Town of Hillsborough.
Josh.
Josh Mail, Town of Chapel Hill.
Becca.
Beck Ebersol Robinson, Town of Carborough.
Caroline.
Caroline Dwyer, Chapel Hill Transit.
Paul.
Paul Kingman, Go Triangle, Tax District Administration.
Meg.
Meg Scully, Go Triangle.
Jay.
Yeah, I guess Go Triangle.
Stephen.
Steven Schwarzberg, Tax District Administration, Go Triangle.
And Landon.
Landon Coley, UNC Chapel Hill.
All right, thank you, everyone. The agenda I have is set. Are there any adjustments to the agenda, Nish?
I have not received any requests or anything. I've made a request if there's anybody has any amendments or anything like that for the current FY program, please send that to us so we can start that process.
Great, thank you. Do we have anybody in person or signed up for public comments?
Not that I'm aware of.
Great, and I don't see anybody else online. All right. First up, we have the December minutes. Are there any suggestions or edits to the minutes? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Who was that?
Becca
So-
and Becca first and Matt second.
Great. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Minutes are approved. And now we have the annual work program draft, and the recommended action is to ask the Orange County Board of Commissioners to release for public comment. So, Nish, do you want to explain the work program?
Yeah, the work program, I think, based on the January staff work group meeting, this is the third public review of it. The only change right now from the previous one to this one is clarifying some of the narrative notes on some of the change requests, and the Ridgewalk Greenway is the only other capital project that's not in the current draft. Based on my understanding, Steve, the financial model is still solid, everything is still good, and having done, these are the updates and changes that we received between the January meeting, 17th meeting, and now. So in order to keep the project on schedule, as this is the third time we've been discussing and deliberating this publicly on this work program, to release it so that public can review it, and it's, even though it's in the packet, it's past 3 months, so it's been reviewed publicly. We just need the 21-day review period.
Great, thank you. And it's my understanding that the Ridgeway Greenway project we're removing from the work program, and we will be working with the town in Orange County to take a look at the project and figure out how best to leverage funding to initiate the first steps. So thank you for everyone for your input on that. Are there any other comments about the draft work program?
Meg,
Just to reiterate, so the model does work. We had a low point of $2.5 million around in FY 28. So obviously that could change based on other projects, but I just wanted to reiterate, as Nish mentioned, it is financially viable.
Great, thank you. That is good news. And I would appreciate a motion to recommend release for public comment.
Meg,
Can
I
I
think you had a
just-
question. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just ask,
Oh, I'm
Make
sorry,
a-
Meg, go ahead.
that's okay. It's just a formatting question, but a formatting comment, but as you know, we work in all three counties, and this comes up often with our projects. And I realize something might be really helpful to do in the final document is to identify the jurisdictions or the communities, the people who benefit from these projects, and not just the project sponsor. So, we work in all different communities, obviously. So even though Go Triangle may be the project sponsor, the beneficiaries are really the residents and the people trying to use transit in either Chapel Hill or Orange or Hillsborough or Carrboro or whatever it may be. And I think that would really help elected officials and community see the impact of a plan like this, as opposed to just who the project sponsor is. That's, I think what we're really trying to illustrate is who's benefiting from the expenditures brought on by these transit funds, right? Go Triangle sponsoring projects, but the beneficiaries are the people who live in or are trying to get to the communities that we serve with our projects. And so I would just like to make that request. I know it's going to take a little bit of editing some of the tables, but I think there's room to do that. And I just think it will more clearly illustrate the impact of the transit plan. So that's just a request I have between this draft and the next.
That is something we can add and consider. I mean, we do have an environmental justice report that goes with that, shows where some of the benefits and burdens are and how some of the projects identified can help improve and address some of those areas to do that. I think Orange County is also working on forgot what it's called in the land use plan update that we're doing, community index, something like that. So we can work on adding that information in the areas that are benefiting and burdened by some of these investments.
Yeah, and that may even be something that we can aggregate up and apply to the transit tracker in the future.
Yeah, and I think MPO is also updating their EJ plan as well, I think, so, TPO.
Yes, as soon as we get direction, we will be proposing some changes to that. So,
Awesome.
Caroline, your hand's up.
Yeah, just one additional request to kind of add on to what Meg has said. I think it would be helpful as we consider future years and annual plans to, I think, both go back to some of the priorities that were identified that we committed to advancing should funding become available. And then also working together to develop a process to, I don't want to say evaluate, but, consider the trade-offs between funding decisions. Given that we have limited funding and our job as a body is to help make those decisions, I think it would be really useful to have some sort of, guidance or ground rules as we're working towards making those decisions.
Absolutely. We can also add that in not only in the annual program, but in the future transit plan itself, and to show some guidance and something direction. I think Michael Parker has asked about that. I think we're meeting in a couple of days to review that. I mean, both in Orange County, Durham County, and Wake County to see what the eligibilities are for projects and considerations. And like you said, trade-offs, something that we can include in the work program and the transit plan as we
I would
work.
actually recommend maybe in the bylaws of the staff working group. I think that would be an appropriate place.
There's a financial policy and procedure document that talks about capital and operating funds. That is another document that we would review, as well as the bylaws. Yes.
Yeah, and Caroline, that is a discussion I've asked to include on the Durham County Staff Working Group later that talks about eligibility and um, potential requirement for project sponsor participation in the financing. Again, I encourage that we want to have some straightforward principles, but remember, the more refined we get,
Mhm.
the more limiting it will be. And we don't want to implement rules for ourselves that
Right.
we're going to constantly need to suspend in order to implement good projects. So
Yeah, I
I add
think
that caveat.
guidance would be, I think right now we're operating without any, at all. We sort of have the governing legislation, enabling legislation, and then, sort of the goals of the transit plan, which are, admittedly very broad. But I think that there's probably ways to even just to make sure that we're discussing them. I think right now there's not really a great process for bringing projects to the group to discuss, having an opportunity to present them, in a way that helps us sort of weigh the pros and cons, right? Like just something a little more consistent.
Yeah, I think
Well,
Durham does that in their, and correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Durham do that in their prioritizing and prioritization matrix that they have in prioritizing projects? I mean, that is one tool that Durham uses. I don't know what Wake uses in their plan in prioritizing certain projects and trade-offs and stuff like that. So we need to consider that. I mean, like Doug said, we don't want to tie anybody's hands
Yeah,
and
I
not
agree.
have something
Mhm.
considered. But we do need, you're
So
absolutely right. We
Nish,
do need some guidance and direction, and we have find ways to do that.
yeah, Nish, I would say Ellen actually would say that there's really no concrete guidelines that Durham has. Wake has a little more because of the bus plan and the vision plan and stuff. But to reiterate, kind of Doug had the same thought process. Michael Parker, as you mentioned, said specifically at the last audit and finance meeting that he really was looking for clarification on eligibility for inclusion in the transit plan. Really guidelines for all three counties. So one
Mhm.
thing that we are doing is trying to get Campo, Durham County, Orange County together just to, what my goal with Michael Parker, because the goal is for all three draft plans, just so everybody knows, to be presented at the March 5th Audit and Finance Committee. I'm going to let everybody in this group obviously know that when it becomes official. So that would be like obviously Durham County, Orange County, and Campo presenting. But I plan on having a quick introduction maybe to Michael Parker just to let him know that we're working collaboratively, especially with the lead agencies, on coming up with those, trying to find synergies, and where there has to be differences, explain what the differences are. So I think that's something that's going to be underway, Caroline. Where it goes from there within the staff working group between bylaws or policy or processes, I guess that's probably something we could all discuss here. But clearly from the board level, at least on the Go Triangle side, they want to be able to see clearly, like, one project might not be acceptable in Wake, but it might be in Orange, and they want to
Mhm.
kind of have an understanding why or what's the rationale. So, well, collaboratively, we all kind of work it together on that.
That's going to be a
well,
process. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
and I think, we also need to respect that different communities have different priorities. And one board of elected officials may change that priority if there's a shift, even during, a year or multi-year program. So, we know that there will be continued disruption. So let's make a system that allows us the space to operate within that. Of course, that's easier said than done, and I'm going to lean heavily on uh, Nish and his team and our staff at Triangle West to come up with some ways to make that happen. Um, so
And this is not just in transit, but this uncertainty and and the need for flexibility is in all modes and all it's going to be affecting the whole thing. So we have a lot of ways to issues and coming change. So we would definitely be addressing this in the process in an organized way that we can all work together to formulate. But thank you so much, and more to update on, more to come on those.
okay, awesome. Good talk. Do Steve, your hand is still up. Did you have anything else to add, or are we ready for a motion on this
No,
recommendation?
sorry, I apologize. I pulled it down.
If not, I'm motioning to release the draft that you see in your current packet.
All right, motion by Nish at Orange County, support.
Second by
Second.
Caroline.
Second by Caroline from Chapel Hill Transit. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any in opposition? Great. So I believe that meeting at the county board was rescheduled for next Thursday, Nish?
Yeah, it's next Thursday, and it's just simply because it's released for comment, is to we get them to release it and then provide any comments. So it'll go back for public hearing per the current schedule, I think in April or May.
Great, thanks. We'll be in touch and supporting you at that meeting next Thursday. So next we have public engagement and communication. Is there any update on that from Orange County?
Good news. Really appreciate everybody for helping us, everybody here and the RPOs and BGMPO. The Transportation Multimodal Plan was selected by NCAMPO conference to be presented at the NCAMPO conference. So it was a Safe Ride School plan. So be looking for those going if you're attending the NCAMPO conference in April. So that's a big public thing that's going on right now with that. Bike ped plan is out. Stantec is working on the bike ped plan. So I think I gave you all the information. Contact website is live and everything. So spread the word and help share that news about getting people involved in the bike ped planning thing. That's all I have on our end right now. And the county is still doing their land use plan updates. So please participate. Help. I'll get some more information out there about that to spread the word. Thank you.
Awesome. All good things, and we're getting a lot of engagement. So I'm finding even on more kind of planning and less project engagement, there's a lot of voices out there right now across the Western Triangle. Josh, your hand's up next.
Yeah. I guess, is there anything related to the staff working group? Anything specifically, I think, around what we're planning to do for this release? I think especially, I'd also love to know who to contact as a staff working group administrator so that we can help publicize as well.
Yeah, we have an Orange County public involvement plan that we'll be using to broadcast it on our social media websites. Darlene is our staff work group administrator to coordinate any public engagement stuff. We have a communications department we'll be reaching out to help spread the word. So please share it as soon as the board releases it next week.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that, Nish. Awesome. Next, we have our always informative and seldom concise Stephen with a Go Triangle financial report schedule update. Take it away, buddy.
Yeah, I don't really have too much. The one thing, I'll say two things. So number one, it's not actually on the agenda, probably should be, but Darlene, Nish, correct me if I'm wrong. Amendments are due, I believe, February 28th. This is the last amendment cycle of the year. So just want to make sure everybody realizes that. So, Darlene and Nish, verify that while I'm talking if you could, but I believe it's February 28th. The other thing I would say is Chapel Hill, Orange County, we're finalizing the ISIS, increased cost of existing service calculation. So in the next, I would say 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to probably send that out. And then the third thing, because I know we're going to do the financial report next month, and thank you everybody who submitted reimbursements and I know agreements. I think we're finally on a good path with. My understanding is the Campo Executive Board has been postponed today, so I don't know how that impacts everybody here, but obviously due to the weather, they're postponing it. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that's the case too. So that's, I think, really it. The amendments are pretty financial, so there you go. But other than that, not really too financial. So that's it, Doug.
Great. No, that's awesome, Steve. There's a lot of turmoil right now, I think is a good way to describe it. A lot of turbidity in the waters, and it's really muddy. I will say that we will do everything we can on the federal funding side to make sure that funding awards are moved into agreement or obligation as fast as we can. We will be asking the MPO board next week to suspend the public input rules to comply with an FTA directive that money is placed into grant accounts for obligation by March 4th. So that will, require us to suspend our typical public comment period. And we're applying that to any grant awards, not just or discretionary funding awards, or even just programmatic awards from non-discretionary grants. We've got to get this in. If you have a funding award for your agency that has anything to do with federal government or even state government, it's on hold. Trying to get things buttoned down as fast as we can. And this includes even grants that the North Carolina Department of Transportation has. You know, for example, the Cape Fear Bridge outside Wilmington, they got a huge grant award last year for that project. It is not under federal agreement yet, so they are proceeding as if that award did not happen. You know, I just caution spending money on grants that you don't have under award and you expect future reimbursement until you get clarifying language. You know, just check with your contacts, see if they have guidance, and move forward cautiously. Tina, go ahead.
Thanks for that update, Doug. We've all been kind of wondering day by day on these projects. Can you just provide a little bit more clarity? Because I know you sent out an email for the MPO folks a week or so ago, and it sounded at that point that most of our transportation related projects that didn't have a green building or kind of an equity component were probably still okay. It sounds like this is a new update that may change that. Is that?
I'm not going to change that until I have something in writing from the feds. And as far as our local designated projects, those funds are budgeted, and you know, I won't get into the granular aspects of the black box behind the scenes. In essence, the department is holding the North Carolina Department of Transportation is holding those funds basically in account for us. The obligation authority has already been used and converted. So I believe that if it's something that Triangle West had previously programmed, even if it's not under a local grant agreement, that the funding is secure because it's held at NCDOT now. It's not contingent on federal obligation. But that said, there's still, you know, we really want to get those things moving forward. So if they're priorities, let's make them so. You know, if not, the last thing we want to have, if efficiency is turned in our direction, is a huge balance of projects that don't have any updated actions on them. So, you know, help us help you, the western side of the triangle look like we're implementing projects on behalf of our constituents. That's the best advice I have. If something changes in writing and we get clear instruction, then yes, I'll provide an update back out. So all this is coming together very, very quickly, and things are changing by the day. So we're trying to be responsive and do what we can. You know, for example, until I get a signed project agreement back from NCDOT with our PL funds and set for next year, the MPO operations through June 30th. That's just the environment. So until we get something that's it. I really hope that it doesn't come to that, but that's what we're faced with internally. So we're right there too.
Okay. No, very helpful, and I think,
yeah.
Hey,
So
Doug, I just want to say thank you for the leadership on behalf of not only the Western Triangle, just the region, and the MPOs are the first line of defense. So thank you for your leadership on this.
we are hoping that our partnership with NCDOT and support from our local members, which all of you are, will, you know, continue to advance our work. have never imagined this professionally, and I'm sure we've all been touched, through relationships we have at work and outside of work by some of the changes that are happening. So
Speaking for Orange County,
let's
thank you.
hop into project sponsor. Go ahead, Nish.
Sorry. Speaking for Orange County, just thank you for getting our stuff obligated, at least getting as much of it tied down as possible with all this uncertainty, getting as much secured, at least, so we have at least information we can share when asked.
Yeah, and we'll be sending out some updated language in our agenda packet for our next week board meeting. So let's hop into project sponsor updates, starting with Chapel Hill. So how about some good news, Caroline?
Yeah, I mean, we're also in kind of the wait and see mode. So we have the project development grant that FTA had already awarded. So we were trying as quickly as possible to get those reimbursement requests into the system to see if we actually get anything back from it. Otherwise, kind of just holding like everybody else is and hoping that, some folks with more influence than we have can convince other people that these projects are important for our state and our region, and keep these things moving forward. We haven't heard anything. I've heard absolutely nothing from our FTA team. I know they're on a bit of a communications embargo as well, in terms of a lot of this stuff. If they're even there, I don't know. Literally, I've heard nothing. I think in another week or two, we're supposed to have a check-in meeting, so I hope it happens. But otherwise, we are trying to use the funding that we have through this plan, this local funding source, to both move some other important projects forward, like our short-range transit plan. And, worst case scenario, I think we do have enough funding that can keep us moving for a little while through this plan that's already been committed through the transit tax revenues that can keep things moving. The well there is not dry. So I think at least we don't have to put the brakes on, even if the federal funding situation becomes completely, non-fungible. So yay. And it's snowing.
Yeah,
or not snowing, or going to snow.
It is snowing here.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit. I'm probably a little south of you. Yeah, I would say probably by the end of March, if we haven't heard anything, I'm going to ask staff to come up with a contingency of what happens next.
Yeah.
If
and
we don't get that assurance that the PL funding will
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I think we all need to, keep contingencies in our back pocket. That's kind of where we are. I mean, I would argue, I think there's a really big window of opportunity for NCDOT to show leadership here. If they're, thinking of taking a step in that direction, if we really do want to kind of show what's possible without federal funding, this may be something, a way to showcase what's possible at the state level. I don't know. But, that's always a possibility too. Not like super holding my breath, but you never know.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that, Meg, let's go to you next.
I was just sitting here thinking, this isn't what I work on in my day-to-day any longer, but I think most grant recipients, at least those of us who are direct recipients to FTA, I think we can draw down monthly. I think most would typically do quarterly unless there were really significant dollars amount to draw down. It just might be something we want to test the system with and try to keep things flowing. But anyway, that was just an aside.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we're trying to ask as fast as we can, just to see if anything comes out. So had we known, we would have done it earlier, but this would have been hard to predict.
Yeah, if you can draw it down at all, please do, for your own sanity. As I said, this is kind of gloomy, but remember, our people are depending on us to be creative and innovative, and regardless of what the federal government does, the problems we solve and we're the best at solving are not going to go away.
That's right.
So we're still needed here. So, all right. I did not see anyone from Mebane on the call. Let's go to Hillsborough. Matt, you have any project updates to share?
So we shared some updates with the Board of County Commissioners at our joint meeting on Monday for the train station and the TOD around the train station, as well as the Ridgewalk Greenway. Both projects are progressing. The holdup with the train station continues to be the PE agreement with Norfolk Southern. We're third in line behind, I think, Kannapolis and Lexington in that process, but we hear they're getting close to terms, which we will adopt as well for the insurance and indemnification. Town site plan review is complete, and so we're just waiting on Norfolk Southern's engineering review on that. So that's all the update I have today.
Great. I think that's a really exciting development, and one thing that may be helpful, is if we sort of create a space that's kind of a standing support for the town as it moves forward, so that we can do anything we can collectively brainstorm and synergize and work together. That's a really exciting and will be a transformational development for Hillsborough. So we want to do everything we can to make sure it is successful. Tina, Carborough's up.
Thanks everyone. And thanks for that great campaign pitch, Doug, Placzynski for president.
No, too many skeletons.
Sorry, trying to share some good cheer.
It is.
Please,
Good joke, Tina. Good joke.
Similar to I think Matt just said for Hillsborough, we gave an update to the town council yesterday about the status of our transportation projects. And I just have to do a shout out to Becca and Duncan, who some of you may know, have really helped make our presentation materials a little bit more vibrant, and it seems to be very well received. I'm saying that as a gentle nudge to others. It's funny when you present the same information and suddenly it seems to strike a more positive chord, and that seems to be based on presentations. So just a shout out about that. Nothing substantially new, just to say that the projects that we've identified for funding through this program and others are moving forward. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes before you see a big change for the public, but things are moving forward. We've had some productive conversations with NCDOT regarding the Estes Drive bike ped improvements, and we're hoping to find a path forward with that. For those of you that don't know, the express design for that project led to a significant increase in the project costs, something that was beyond what we thought we could move forward with. So we've been working with the town engineer to get the CAD files from the express design consultants, which is, by the way, the firm that Chapel Hill is using for their projects, and to try to do a slightly different alignment that would still work seamlessly with Chapel Hill, but reduce the cost a little bit. So hopefully we'll get that underway, and it will provide us with the way that we can initiate that project and move that forward. So that's probably our biggest newsy nugget for this report.
Okay. I think that's promising, and yeah, the project costs, like everything else, we just assume are going to be very dynamic, and except they're only dynamic in one direction typically. So we appreciate all the work and creativity that goes into trying to get projects nailed down and over the finish line, or sometimes even just over the starting line. All right. Last but not least, Go Triangle. Jay and Meg.
Jay's quiet. I'll chime in on just a couple things. I think he's prepared to provide some updates, but you know, Rust Bus is still on schedule to open this summer. So we'll be doing a service change late July, early August to reroute for Orange's sake, I guess primarily CRX. But then of course, you know, other routes that a lot of passengers from Orange coming or going will use will be going to Rust Bus. But still maintaining that connection to Raleigh Station to allow our many passengers who transfer the opportunity to transfer. And then we have upcoming service changes in a few weeks. And the 800-805 is part of that. If Jay's, I see some strange illumination on Jay's name, but if he's here, I'm sure he has more to share. There he is. Hey,
Yeah,
Jay.
it's all right. My sound settings were messed up. Yeah, service changes on March 9th. Go to triangle.org/service changes. Lots of good information there. You know, a big change that will be beneficial to Orange County residents, employees, and visitors is that the 800 will now provide direct service to Box Yard, Hub RTP, and Regional Transit Center at all times on the NC 54 corridor. This is part of an effort to improve reliability, on-time performance, which is, you know, is always consistently by far the most important thing we hear from our riders to improve. So much better on-time performance coming on Route 800. Also, as part of this, Route 805 will operate every 30 minutes as a shuttle between Chapel Hill, Woodcroft, and South Point. So some really exciting improvements coming there. As Meg mentioned, we're also starting to work on improvements or service changes for August. Another substantial investment that the Orange Plan funds, really the first one out of the new plan for Go Triangle, is 15-minute service on the 400 corridor, so Durham, Chapel Hill, UNC, Duke, every 15 minutes on weekdays. So that will be launching in August. Operator recruitment and retention continues to be strong. So that's a significant boost in the number of operators we need, but we are confident at this stage that we'll have the operators to operate that service based on our current trend line. So very excited about that. Also coming in August, we're going to look at some retiming on the 420, which is operated by Chapel Hill Transit, serves Hillsborough and Chapel Hill. Same for the ODX, which is operated by Go Triangle and connects Mebane, Hillsborough, and Durham.
Great. That's awesome stuff, Jay. Just as a teaser, since you mentioned some of those lines, with the lesson learned from the Strategic Transportation Investment Act in North Carolina and the upcoming spot prioritization, not that we're anticipating there to be much of a change in revenue opportunities, but we're going to practice elevating projects in the scoring systems. We will likely be examining a project corridor for capital investment that connects Chatham County up through North-South BRT, including out either through Hillsborough or adjacent to Hillsborough to Mebane as a potential corridor to be evaluated. Right now, for those of, you know, there are some people that aren't in our regular meetings. The second busiest highway projection of traffic in the Western Triangle is just west of the 40 and 85 merge in Western Orange County, Eastern Alamance County. That eclipses everything else on the Beltline around Raleigh, 40 east of Raleigh. The modeling does not project traffic to be to the point that it will be where Buc-ee's is going to be. So, you know, we've got some options, I think, to try to get some public transportation investments on that route. It's clearly in demand, and improve those connections. So we're going to start working that angle the best we can to provide more connectivity and hopefully more investment in North-South BRT and future expansion of Chapel Hill Transit OPT service and Go Triangle. So, and even PART and any elements, public transportation agencies. So we're all in this together, and we're going to try to get creative and get some spot 8 funding awards for this work. So that's the last thing I'll have as an update. See, our next meeting is March 19th. That is, yep, that's on Wednesday. Does anybody else have anything before we adjourn?
Can I just ask one kind of clarifying question? I think this might be directed towards Stephen, and my apologies for being a few minutes late, for the beginning of the meeting in case you covered this. Is the expectation at this point that the projects that have been submitted, that there would be sufficient funding to cover them, pursuant to any other public input that might make us do some changes?
Yeah, we kind of mentioned that earlier when we were going through the work program. What is being presented and put out there has a low point, and I think it was 28, I said, of 2.5 million. So obviously we are near the bottom, but there are
Okay.
obviously going to be adjustments and things like that. So everything is viable, including the future year CIPs
Okay.
in the model. Yeah.
Thanks.
And actually, you might have missed it, Tina. The other comment I made, I'm not sure if you were here, because it wasn't on the agenda, is that amendments are due. Obviously, send it to Darlene, and then CC myself and Paul Kingman, just so we're in the know. I think by 2/28. I know
Yeah.
Wake, Durham, and Orange are all around the same time, so I think that's the date. But Nish and Darlene could say differently.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go.
I have a quick question. Also, I think for Stephen. Stephen, we have a project. We had submitted an amendment that is going through the approval for FY25 Q3. How do amendments like that get incorporated into the global agreements?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I probably would need to defer that with
Okay.
legals, and I could find out and tell everybody. What I would imagine, I think what we do on Wake, says is the first time for Orange. I think what we do is do a like a 1-page appendment that just says appendix. I should say that just says, this is now included in. But Nish, do you have any? Again, I'll run it by legal. I'm sure they've thought about it.
For
But
contract,
I see your hand up.
for contract purposes here in Orange County, we simply do an addendum with this project.
Right, that's what I
mean,
meant,
that's something that we can do, an addendum that was approved by the board. Then it says an addendum, I think Paul gave us a new example of an exhibit A that just says, here's a project, here's a cost, here's a brief description. The addendum would simply have that in it.
Yeah.
And what happens to the addendum?
It just asks you your global agreement. I mean, your global agreement is already signed and executed.
Right.
It's just an addendum that's added to the thing.
So where does that get submitted to? Does it need to be signed, or it's just like a piece of paper?
It's just a piece of paper added as an
Okay.
addendum to the
And
global
that
agreement. No
goes-
signing or anything because the global agreement is already signed.
Right. That's my question though. Like you're attaching something to an agreement after you're signing it, which means you're substantively changing that agreement.
Well, I guess the question is does the agreement just defer to the actual work program, and by the board's approving it, it kind of gets added on? But again, we'll speak with legal.
Yeah,
as
just
to
let me
make
know,
sure.
because I want to make
Mhm.
sure that we get that right while we're
covered.
doing the
I just
one
offered a
now.
suggestion. I was just offering a
Yeah.
suggestion that we do here. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Anything further?
All right. Let's adjourn.
Stay
And
safe, everybody.
everybody's
Enjoy your snow.
warm and safe.
Thanks all.
Yeah,
Be safe.
warm and safe. There you
Thanks,
go.
Phil.